Alright, welcome back folks to another Wumu transmission. Now this particular episode is very relevant. In an age in which we're experiencing an epidemic of loneliness, so to speak, we're going to look at the two sides of that same coin. Yes, not having people to spend time with can be a very negative thing. It can be isolating, it can be lonely, it can be sad. But what is the positive aspect to this, right? Why do you feel lonely? Ultimately, it's because you don't enjoy your own company. And, one of the main missions of this channel is to help you become your own best friend that is content without, so that you can enjoy everything else, right? So, we're going to be touching on the necessity of solitude in finding your own path. That is, the Tao, the way, the passion of the Christ, following your highest passion and excitement, right? A little bit of alone time is hugely necessary. It is absolutely paramount in doing the necessary introspection, the soul searching, in order to come out the other side and more mature, more grounded. It's building character, right? But it gives you time and space to really think about the deeper things, right? And we're going to touch on this in the next slide, all right? Very quickly. Distractions are a form of escapism. And how the system actually gaslights us into always wanting to be distracted, right? Now, distractions come in many forms. It can be just scrolling on your phone. It can be socializing. And this isn't to say all distractions are bad. I love a good distraction. Don't get me wrong on that. But when we are constantly distracted, it gives us no time for the necessary introspection, right? Work, when you're not doing it for yourself, is a distraction. Socializing, drugs, social media, all these things are a distraction from your own thoughts. And why are you choosing to distract yourself from them? A, the system kind of necessitates it. It normalizes it. You know, I spoke about in 2 episodes ago, in that we are given this idea of life in which we're meant to go to school, go to uni, go to work, get married, do this, that, and the other. Do everything but spend a bit of time by ourselves thinking. You know, they don't want you thinking. That's the whole point, okay? So distractions are a form of escapism in the same way I was a heroin addict using that to escape my reality, my now. So too can be work. So too can socializing with friends. So too can just be scrolling on your phone. These are all forms of escaping the present moment, escaping your thoughts. The echo chamber. Now, this scales up. An echo chamber can be the content that you consume. You have an algorithm very cleverly designed to manipulate your way of thinking, to keep feeding you what you want to see, okay? And stuff that you really don't want to see that triggers a low vibrational, fearful, angry, negative emotion state, right? But something that people won't like to hear is that the echo chamber is most commonly found in our circle of friends. In our group of friends, and on a wider aspect, that can be our social circle. On a wider aspect, that can be our community. And it scales up basically to our whole civilization. Why do we spend time with the people that we spend time with? And let's be honest with ourselves. More often than not, it's because we like hearing our own opinions repeated back to them. Now, I can speak from anecdotal experience, lived experience, that now that my ideas and my beliefs have greatly shifted from what they were just a few years ago, before my enlightenment thing, a lot of people are rejecting me, shunning me, don't want to spend time with me. And why is that? I think what is paramount here is they don't like having their own opinions, their own beliefs challenged. It's uncomfortable, especially when those challenges come from a place of conviction, of really deep, resonant truth. Because truth we've spoken about is resonant. You can choose to reject it, but it lives rent-free in your brain because you feel it, right? And so when the ego always likes to think it's right, it never likes to be wrong, when you have someone challenging these ideas, it can be greatly uncomfortable and it can be interpreted as ill-intended. right? Which of course it isn't, you know? I mean, I specifically come from all love. Like, all I want is everyone to be happy. Literally, that's why I'm helping do this. I just want everyone to be happy so we can all get on with all this shit and have a good time together. That's the only reason I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for money. It's not outcome focused. I'm also doing it because I'm having fun. But, you know, I just want everyone to have a good time. And I want truth to be universal, as it should be, right? But, you know, these friend groups, it's disappointing to see, and it's not to say they won't turn around, and I don't hold any resentment towards them, because I know that when I was in a place of being, a state of take, no give, I was the most depressing bastard to be around of all time. I would just be a dark cloud hovering around, and I took a lot from people, right? And that is why, you know, naturally, of course I want to give it all back, in spades more. But it's disappointing, on a sense, that people can't hang out with each other that share differing beliefs because they don't want to be challenged. I mean, what is the fun in that, right? If you can't accept being wrong, when are you ever going to learn anything new? Well, you can't, you know. And I'll touch on this on a later slide. But just for note, you know, be honest with yourselves. Why do you enjoy spending time with the people that you're spending time with? Why do you go to this church or this synagogue or this mosque or something? Is it because you're comfortable just hearing what you know, what you think to be true, repeated back to you, so there is no challenge, and, you know, great minds think alike? Well, do they? Seriously, do great minds think alike? I mean, maybe the greatest minds do, but, you know, people get stuck up on this idea of a challenge, a debate, without, they interpret it as always an argument. It doesn't have to be an argument. I mean, I think there's nothing more enjoyable than actually having a really good considered debate, philosophical discussion around the true nature of things, right? And I can't remember who said it. A great man, a great woman, great man, once said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? It's food for thought, you know? I mean, we should be really welcoming of new ideas, our beliefs being challenged, you know? That keeps us on our toes. It keeps us non-complacent, you know? We're always moving forward then. You know, you're never stagnant. So, yeah, food for thought. Open-mindedness. I touched on this on the last episode. What is open-mindedness? It is open to being wrong. Now, you can only learn something new if you are wrong about your preconceived belief, right? It facilitates growth, both from a knowledge base, from an intellectual standpoint, but also consciously, spiritually, right? There is a great fallacy in our current system that you go to kindergarten, you go to primary school, you go to high school, maybe you go to uni if you get into it. I didn't go to uni. Probably did me really well, by the way, just saying. And then you go into your profession and you do all this. Life itself is the lesson. We chose to be on the earth because it's a difficult lesson for our own spiritual growth. Now, I've mentioned in a previous episode, you know, if you believe in reincarnation, I do. What is reincarnation? It's repeating a year at school because you didn't get the lesson of non-duality, unconditional love in this experience, in this avatar, this meat suit, right? So open-mindedness, again, we all love to claim that we are, but are you? And be honest with yourselves. You know, you're only doing yourself a disservice by assuming you are when you really aren't, you know? And not only then are you lying to yourself, but that will then reflect in lying to others, even though it may not be ill-intended or a conscious lie, a conscious deception, right? The learning does not stop at school. It should be continuing your whole life, right? Now, negative emotion serves no utility. I've spoken again about this previously. And using the anecdotal experience before of a certain number of friends going a bit away from me. And that's okay. But you then start to ask, you use your nous, right? You go, okay, well, what is the intention here? Why don't they? Is it because they don't like what I'm speaking about? Maybe. That could be true. But then why do they not like what I'm speaking about? You know? Is it because they feel like they could be wrong? Probably, right? I've gone from 30 subscribers to 5,000 in 2.5 weeks. That, by the Western definition of success. Look, my idea of success is just fulfillment and happiness, contentment. But we get programmed into the idea that success literally means money, wealth, power, and influence, right? True happiness is being happy for others. Now, if I am succeeding in doing what I'm doing, are my friends happy that I'm succeeding? Well, it certainly doesn't feel like it, honestly. And that is, again, that's disappointing, but it is what it is, and I respect everyone on their own journey to figure it out for themselves. Only they can come to these conclusions themselves. Maybe they just think I'm a dickhead, and that's okay too. Whatever. But, you have to understand, negative emotion serves you no utility. We've spoken about suffering previously, and I use the example of the Buddha. In that suffering comes two-pronged. The first one is what is, okay? So if you go through a breakup, shit, it happened. It is what it is. But the second line of suffering is how you respond to that. And that is where most people suffer the most, okay? And this is a negative emotion that we attach to that is what it is, okay? I can speak from profound anecdotal experience. My last breakup, I allowed myself to spiral into a self-destructive heroin addiction, everything. I absolutely wrote myself off, and I just couldn't let it go. I was attached to it, not mainly, but partly because I was entertained by my own problems. I was also an addict, and being a junkie becomes a full-time job, so that's distracting. But these negative emotions you come to learn serve you no utility. What do you get out of staying jealous? What do you get out of being angry? What do you get out of feeling guilty, feeling shameful? These things are often no utility. And it is a mental thing. If we choose to let them go, that is, we can choose to let go of the suffering, we can. But we choose not to. And so I think it's all up to the individual to take accountability in that we continue to hold on to that negative emotion. Because you know better, at least now you do, that it serves you no utility. There is no utility in feeling like that, and it is what it is. So until you can accept what is, again, depression and anxiety, same things on opposite end of the spectrum. Depression and attachment to past, out of your control. Anxiety, attachment to future, worry about the future, out of your control. So if you can accept that is outside of your control, and all you can do is control your behavior in the current moment, you don't even control your thoughts, right? The world would be a much better place if we can all just recognize that one very simple truth, a profound one at that, right? Now, I've spoken again about being on the right side of history in terms of adopting these ideas, because it's already happened. It is happening, right? Astrologically, we are in a new age where the archetypal frequencies of consciousness that are affecting our reality on Earth, it's already set in motion. We're in a cycle. So we're entering into a golden age, and these ideas, quantum mechanics proves this. We're all moving towards this. Some may be a little further ahead of the curve than others. But if you resonate with truth, if you can recognize it, especially in your own rejection of it. Now, this is what takes the most maturity. If you can recognize that you have a really intrinsic rejection of that truth that makes you uncomfortable, well, why does it make you uncomfortable? You should recognize that it is because it is true, and that means you're wrong. Now, the more mature-minded of us will be able to accept that. The wolf, that is the person on the right side of history, will be able to admit this wrong. The sheep accepts it once their ignorance is no longer tenable. They will wait for the critical mass, or beyond that, before they go, oh yeah, I guess this is what I believe now. You don't need to be like that. You can be ahead of the curve. You can fast forward your own spiritual growth in these very simple, all things are relative. Maybe it isn't easy for you to accept truth. If you've been a Christian pastor for 60 years and you have just realized that your whole identity, your being, is demonstrably proven false through astrotheology. See the Satan Serpents 7 episode that I did. I mean, it literally debunks all religion. It's undeniable. It is scientifically provable that what they're talking about is absolute garbage. They're idol worshippers. And I don't mean any offense by that. This is truth. I had to accept some difficult truths in myself. Why don't you accept it in yours, all right? Now, the ego that wants to know everything, that likes to think it does know everything, think about it like this. Why the fuck would you? There is no greater joy in life than learning new things, at least for me personally. That is how we keep growing. So this attachment to these ideas that we know everything, that we know better than. I've said it before, a Plato quote. I know nothing. You know? The more you know you don't know. You know? Now the Tao, okay? You'll hear me, and I've mentioned this before, you'll hear me sign off with Wu Mu Wu Wei. Wu Wei is the central principle of the Tao, okay? The Tao means the way. It means the path, the passion of the Christ. Now, understand, we are not meant to all be doing the same things, working for the same company, wearing the same uniform. I mean, when you think about it, it's retarded. But, you know, we get programmed into this. We get gaslit into this, and it's outside of our control if you're programmed into it from birth. So don't feel guilty about that. Don't feel stupid. It happened to all of us, right? That is just part of how it is. But when you understand that we are all our own unique being, we all have very individual, unique characteristics, traits, passions, ideas, ways of thinking, ways to creatively express ourselves, there is a highest path in life for you that is already set before you're born, that is dictated by your astrological pattern, your soul flake of a soul, right? Again, I'm speaking with assumed knowledge that you've watched previous episodes, but we are all completely unique in our whole personality, in our being, right? And when you come to learn that we all aren't meant to be the same, non-conformity is actually the right way to create a cohesive humanity, right? It's paradoxical. When you come to learn that the Tao, the path in life, the passion of the Christ, is actually the easiest one. Your highest path, your highest potential is the easiest one because you're doing what you want to do. It is no longer work, it's play. You're just doing what you want to do. You need to trust the universe to provide the synchronicity, to provide the packets of information. We live in a quantum information field. The universe provides all this for you as and when you need it, when you fall into your path. Okay? So, easier said than done. Granted. But know that this is a real thing, right? So, I was speaking to a friend down the road at the cafe this morning. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got 3 videos to record today. And like, she can't keep up with the videos I've already done. She's like, well, where does this keep coming from? And I'm like, well, I do one video and then I get a packet of information to do the next one. I don't know all this in one. I'm not just holding on to information. It's like you get that one out of the way, then you move on to the next one. You need to trust the universe to provide this for you because it does. Because you are the universe, right? Again, we were never meant to conform. I said this in the previous episode. A wonderful quote from Dante's Divine Comedy. My mission here, outside of having great fun, which I'm doing, is to aid the world who lives all wrong. And again, it requires a bite of the tongue, perhaps, a swallow of pride, perhaps. But we need to accept that life, or the construct, the system right now, is unnatural. It's not how we're meant to be. We're not human beings right now. We're human tryings, we're human doings, we're human everything but being, right? So, and again, the powers that, it's far easier to manage a population when they're all the same. You know what I mean? Like, clearly, this is simple. This isn't rocket science. Like, well, duh, that makes sense. All right? So, understand, you might be wrong about what this whole thing about life is, about what reality is, about the deeper questions, and that it's okay. Express yourself. Let your soul speak. You know, it's funny. I ask someone if they believe in spirituality, and they say, "Oh, no, I'm not into that." To reject the notion of spirituality is literally to say you don't have a soul. And think about that. If you don't actually believe in spirituality, that is to insinuate you don't believe that you have a soul. And I feel sorry for your soul, because your soul is your true you. You're not the meat suit. You know, again, this is our computer to interface with reality. We're the soul that resides in it. I picked a cool meat suit. But you have to understand you're something more. You're this too, but you're so much more than that. All right. So we'll leave that one there. Woo moo. Woo way.